Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Let's continue building our KYC Oracle application or KYC Web3 application. So in last video, we have created our Oracle contract. Now in this video, we'll be creating the caller contract, which will be calling the Oracle and get the latest data of an user or KYC details of the user. Now, what we will do, we'll go to the KYC app, or we'll just change this name to just call it app. Okay, so it can be any app, doesn't have to be KYC app. So any app that needs KYC can call this contract. So here what we will do, we'll create a new file. We will call it for now caller contract.sol. So here let's just copy the whatever the pre-text we need for license and the import version and all. This is not required anyway, but yeah, the first part is required. Now what we will need the ownable. Yes, we don't need the KYC. Yeah, so what we will need is we need to know the interface of the Oracle, so that we know what are the functions available for this Oracle contract, so that the caller contract can call it. For that, we will have to have a Oracle. So here also we will put that interface in this file, Oracle interface, or we'll call it KYC Oracle interface.sol. Okay, Oracle looks good. Yeah, so here we will store all the interface related to the Oracle. This will be KYC Oracle interface. We'll call it again. We'll just copy this part, this interface, paste everything here. We'll call it KYC Oracle interface. And only thing it needs to know is this function called get latest status. So this is what our caller contract needs to know, that this function, this Oracle has this function, and this is the signature of the function. That's all. This will be an external, so we'll call it external. This will be here. Yeah, looks good. And we'll just copy this and put it in place of this one. Looks good. And just put semicolon. Okay, that's all. So we have our interface, the minimum thing that our caller contract needs to know to get the price. This is the here. So first thing first, we'll just import this interface. Okay, now we will need the caller contract, which is the ownable, and it should also be a KYC. So we also need to implement this one, KYC caller interface. So let's import that one as well, and this will come from KYC caller interface, and this will be KYC or KYC caller interface. Why this is calling the Oracle interface? Fine. This is a little bit weird. Okay, now this should be this one as well. Now it says that it needs to implement few of these. Contract column should be marked as abstract, no argument. Okay, so now because this is the ownable, we have to specify this one again, the constructor, and pass the initial owner. This fine. Caller contract should mark abstract Y. implement an interface. Okay, let's just remove this. I was thinking of if I can add. Let me just try it one more time. Okay, so what it needs, the caller interface needs a callback. Let's first implement this one, then we'll add anything else. Okay, now the error is gone, because until unless we implement this one, this will not get satisfied. That's why it's giving the error. That was perfectly understandable. Now we have a caller contract. What we need to do is, whenever we want to update or get a latest status of our users KYC details, we need to call that Oracle interface. So for that, we have to know what is the address of the Oracle. So there can be multiple Oracles with the same contract deployed by different people or different entities, because these are all open source contracts, and anyone can go and copy the and deploy it, duplicate it and deploy it. So let's say that we should have a choice to select which contract, or in case, let's say in future the contracts get updated, or the version of the Oracle gets updated, a new Oracle has been deployed that is much better or have much more security vulnerability patched. And if we hardcode this address, what will happen in future? We will not be able to update it. So we have to have a way to set the Oracle contract address in our caller contract. So we will have a function. I'll just put this function here. It's very self-explanatory. Set Oracle instance address. So we'll have Oracle instance address, and we'll also have to have a only owner can call this contract. Now we'll need to have our address stored somewhere. We'll have a private variable, Oracle address, which will be stored here, and this is Oracle instance. Do we need Oracle instance? Let me just put it here. So we'll have an Oracle instance, and let's say whenever we do any major changes to in our contract internal state, we want to have an event, just like we did in our last contract. Let's have a event. We'll call new Oracle address event, and we will put the address of the Oracle. We will let's put this in as a private variable, and we don't need to have an identifier there. Now we have everything. Our Oracle is set up. Now we can ask the Oracle for a updated status of a user. Now whenever we are asking a user's KYC, we don't only want that for that particular run. We want to store it in a variable, so that in future also we can go and reference that details. We will have a mapping in the top in the variable section. We'll call it verified users, and we'll have an address, and we'll say that if that user is verified or not. And once we verified from the Oracle that is verified, we'll update this mapping. So let's check. Let's have a function called function, and we'll call update KYC status address address user, and it will be public. Okay, we will have, so we'll AI looks good. The AI suggestion is looking good. So we'll use that Oracle instance and get this get status update, get latest status, and pass the user ID and user address. This will give us a request ID. Again, we want to have a way to validate that these are the valid requests. So we'll have a mapping here if it's a valid request, and also we'll have a request details. because we are only receiving an user ID, not total full when the callback is received, we're only getting that ID of the request and the status. We're not getting any which user for this request is. For that, we already have a unique ID. We have to store those details somewhere here. We'll have a struct which will have the user as an address and the ID like an ID. Okay, looks good. Not sure why this is giving okay. This is also, we need a semicolon here. Now we'll just create a mapping. What it is also required, yes. So we'll just create another mapping here with that request as a output of the mapping, and it will be request request. Now once we have this, we'll store this in this is request, and the request in the requests object request mapping will store the request parameters, which is the user address and the request ID. Once this is done, we will just wait for the callback to be called, and we'll have our details ready in this parameter, in this arguments, which is the user ID and the status. So Oracle, when the Oracle calls back, this Oracle gets the request done. So what happens here is we call this update KYC status, which will in turn, and the contract will call the Oracle to get the latest status, which is here. Get the latest status, and this will create broadcast an event, get latest price of the user, and our backend server will keep on listening for this request and call back. Once it receive the request, it will get the data of the status of the user, and again come back in to the Oracle and call this set latest price. Once this gets called, this will then go back to the caller instance and use that callback method to supply back the status and the request ID. So now when we call the callback method, this will come here in our main contract, caller contract, and it will execute this caller contract. This is the entire chain. Okay, so now we will just check if the request is present or not. We'll just after request is present, we'll just not make this false, delete this. Okay, so here also I should be deleting whenever the request is because we don't want to end up having lots of requests and unused memories. Okay, so now I have deleted the request. What will happen? We will also need to get the request details. It doesn't need to have that if condition. So the user address user is request user and is verified. We'll go to the is verified user and pass user and the status. So once we have that, we will also we have an event called new Oracle. Okay, well, new user verify. We don't think we'll need this because okay, fine. The AI is suggesting me to add this event. That's fine. We can add that, but here what we also delete that request ID as well, because we don't want to again store all these data and make the contract too much bulkier. Here also in the set price, once we have received that request, we'll just go delete the request ID to free up the space. Okay, so we have our caller contract main functionality done. What we also want to have, we only want this callback to be called by the Oracle, so that not any other attacker or any hacker should not be able to call this callback method and update the data of a verified user. So for that, we have to create a modifier. So we'll create a modifier here. I'll just copy this modifier code So we will call it only Oracle, and it will require the message just sender has to be an Oracle address. Otherwise, you are not authorized to call this function. And once this is called a modifier, so we can place this modifier in front of this function, and then it will be only Oracle will be able to call this function. Okay. Now let's have some helper function like get verified user. Looks good. So this is the mapping, right? Yeah, so we'll not be able to. So get user status, we'll call it user status. The AI is giving me some suggestions, but I don't think it's good enough. Okay, so address will have the user as a parameter, and this will return a status that if the user is verified or not. So we'll just return verified user and the user. This is just for our front end. If we interact with the front, if from a front end, if we want to interact with the contract, we'll call this function and we'll get the result. Okay, update KYC. So that's all. We have created our caller contract. This will be all to this just a sample contract. We can modify it to make it work with any of our any of our applications or any of our custom applications. We just have to implement all these things in our custom application or inherit this contract in our custom application. That's all for a caller contract, and the next video we will be looking at how we can create our server, which will be actually fulfilling the request and verifying the user from our Web3 or HTTP server or a client node, you can say that. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.